Cut it out, Bo. Go downstairs. Go. I'll be down in a minute.
You know how it is, like starting up. It's hard as shit.
Whether they're good, bad, or ugly, getting the message out there that people aren't just like these superstars or shitbags. Like, there's a point behind everybody, what they're doing. I'm a fucking moron. Mike.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. Always another episode with me, with you, as always, is me, Ben. Today, I am joined by a special guest, Craig Obeso. I think I said it right. And damn it, founder of Mandark. For those of my military friends, you've seen him on the reels and stuff. He had that account, or he has that account, and then it also the famous "Where's Chow" logo. That's, I think, how a lot of people know you. Craig, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it was super last minute, and I really don't know too much about you, so I'm excited to hear everything. So let's.
Go ahead.
No, it just we'll start it off. I just want to hear where you're from, kind of that childhood developments. Like, everybody loves the origin story, but just tell me about where you're from, how you grew up, and those early years.
Well, first and foremost, again, thank you for having me on your platform. It's really, anytime it's an honor that anybody kind of takes interest in me, because really I feel like, to me, I'm just a guy on the internet. But going into a little bit about my background, so I was raised in Arizona, and I was actually raised by two first sergeants. So I come from a long history of military. I think I'm third generation. My grandpa served in World War II, my dad in Desert Storm. And they both, I think, collectively served a total of like 40 something years, like something crazy. But it wasn't to the point where like I always knew I wanted to go to the military. I was actually in a nursing program prior to joining the military. And I was doing CNA work, which stands for Certified Nursing Assistant. And I was just working at like a lot of hospices. I think that's the plural word for it. But I was like 16, 17 working at hospice. And it was just getting old really quick because I was wiping a lot of butt and, other private parts. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired of this type of work. I don't think I want to be an LPN and then an RN. So I dropped out of school and I had like a 6-month stint where I was an 18-year-old doing stupid stuff. And to the point where I kind of ruined a lot of opportunities for myself to further progress in my educational career. I was like, you know what? The Army's always there. My dad has an extensive, rich history with the Army. So if anything, I can join the Army. And that was back in 2005 when I started having.
No, just no. You look young. That's why I was like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Just good genetics. But so that was back in 2005. And they were giving out large bonuses, and all I saw was the money. So I was just like, hey, I want a job or an MOS that's going to give me the largest amount of money, and I will enlist. And of course, the recruiter's biting at the chops, and he's like, okay, well, 11 Bravo. And so my dad kind of, rang me in, and he said, hey, Craig, there's other opportunities out there for you besides being a grunt, which I didn't know what that was because he kind of kept the Army away from me. And so he recommended another MOS that had an $8,000 bonus. And I was like, whatever, like $8,000. Like, I've never had that much money in my life. So I enlisted. And then, fast forward, I've been in for 19 years and 4 months. And it's been short but long, if that makes sense. Like, you blink, and now I'm like, oh, okay, like I'm here now. Like, what do you do now? You've always kind of envisioned like what 20 years looks like, and now I'm there, and I'm like, okay, like either shit or get off the pot, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, there's a couple things. With that, growing up in the military, I'll kind of backtrack and make my question staged. Like, with that grown up military, obviously that's around you all the time. You said you did CNA work for a while, but like, was there ever a propensity to go towards that, or was it always just kind of like in the back there?
What do you mean by that?
Like you have, like you said, third generation, so you got your grandparents did it, your parents did it. Like, did you feel a calling ever of like, this is what I should do, or no, it wasn't really pushed like
No,
that?
no. I wish I had this cool heroic story of patriotism. But I'll be the first one to tell you I joined just because I needed a job. I needed money. So, and actually, one of the main reasons I joined is I had a cousin, and he did a 4-year contract, and he was really the driving force of why I went into the military. And it wasn't like I looked at him as a idol or as an example of what I wanted to emulate. It was, he said he did 4 years, and it was during the time that 9/11 happened. I knew we were at war, and he never deployed. He did 4 years and got out and came home. And I was like, you know what? And such a stupid idea. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna roll. I'm gonna roll the dice. I'm gonna do 4 years. I'm gonna get free college. I'm just gonna come back home. Sure enough, I join. I go straight to third ID, and they're like, "Hey, Obeso, 6 months. Got a CTC rotation over at NTC. We're gonna go get validated, and then we're out the door to Iraq." And I was just like, like this is not this is.
No.
I'm like, this is not what I signed up for, but like truly it was. You know what I mean? Like it was just the ignorance of an 18-year-old Craig just being like, ah, shit. Well, I guess here we are. Like,
I think that's kind of the beautiful part of when you join. You do stuff that you never thought you'd do, and then you like sometimes you find a not necessarily a calling, but like a likeness towards some of that stuff because you go, oh, this isn't that bad actually. I'd never thought I'd be doing this type of stuff. So that's always
yeah.
cool.
I mean, I'm 18 years. So my first deployment, I deployed at the age of, excuse me, I deployed at the age of 19. And then we got extended over there. So I did a 15-month tour in Iraq. And I got back and I was 20. I still wasn't old enough to drink. So like a guy that has been in seen combat and seen some of his good friends die, and I come back and I'm like, I can't drink. You know what I mean? Like I can't go out with my friends. I can't go parties.
That is one of the weird things about the Army. It still enforces you can pick up a gun, you can shoot a 50 cal, you can drive a $1 million piece of equipment, but you can't drink, or now you can't even smoke cigarettes or anything like that. And it's like,
Yeah,
they're putting their life on the line. At the end of the day, they signed up to do that. Give a little gap,
yeah. No one gives a shit. Yeah, no one gives a shit because it'd be too hard. Well, everyone except for the military. Like, yeah, no one gives a shit. They'll just turn 21 and you do whatever. But I mean, we both know. You and I both know. That didn't stop us. That didn't stop me at the age of 18, 19, 20, leading up to 21. Even before those things were set, right? Like alcohol, for example, barracks parties.
Right.
Like
It's everywhere.
It's the pinnacle of the military is barracks parties. Like they're great.
Of course. It's unfortunately, I'd say it's a culture, and while it's super fun memories, because I did my fair share, the problem is, sometimes it just gets so out of hand so damn fast. It's kind of a segue, I guess, but it gets so out of hand so fast, and you're like, what even happened? It was like 30 people together. I don't even know what's going on right now.
That's the best time, man. Those are the best times, though. I mean, I will tell soldiers this, if I mean whoever's watching or whatever, but your first duty station will never like no other duty stations will amount to your first duty station ever. And all soldiers should know that after they PCS from their first duty station. Like you make the best friends. You make some of your best friends at your first unit. Probably because you're scared and you don't know anything else.
You like lean into everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, you do.
It's such a good feeling though, because I like you brought that up, and now I think about mine, and you get those emotions, man. Those people you like, they were there for you when, because I was what, it was a 6-hour plane ride. It was, driving was out of the question, but so far away, you don't have that attachment. So you just look for attachment around you, kind of, because I was 22 and I still look for that ability to lean on someone, and they're there for you, like good or bad, and everybody's got their faults, but that is such a camaraderie that cannot be matched anywhere else.
Yeah, and you won't find it out of your first douche. I mean, you may, right, with a few other people, but like it's unmatched. Your first unit, your first assignment, your first duty station, like, and also really it depends on your age, right? Like me, 18-year-old Craig, like you said, like I'm latching on to like anybody that will listen, that'll take care of me, because I have no idea what to do. I don't know how to wipe my ass. Like, teach me, please. Like, teach me to be an adult.
Yes. What you get done with that, you go to your next duty station and stuff. Like, you obviously stayed in. Like, what were your thoughts about staying in? Like, because obviously at the beginning you were like, one and done, I'm out of here, and then
Yes.
propelled.
So what happened was, so I went to Iraq the first time, and then I went to Iraq the second time, and the Army has this thing, right? What they'll do is, I call it a test, and whether they do it purposely or not, I don't know. But I've been in long enough to kind of see it with other soldiers, and what I mean by that is, as your contract is coming to an end, the Army will test you, and what I mean by that is they will give you orders. And basically it's hey, you're either going to shit or get off the pot, which means if you're not, you need to sign this deck statement, which then means forfeiting a lot of things that you may be working towards, like your civilian education or getting awards or getting, certifications in other MOSs, that you may be in. You can't attend those things anymore. So you forfeit not only civilian education but military education. You're kind of just like sitting there waiting. So they put me on orders. They put me on orders to Germany, and I call my stepmom. I'm First off, I'm very privileged, and I acknowledge that. But my stepmom at the time was working for one of the headquarters, and she was an Army G1 as a civilian. And so I called her, and I was like, I don't want to go to Germany. And she's like, okay, well, where do you want to go? And I was like, I don't want to go overseas after doing, at that time, I had a total of 28 months of combat time at the age of 21, 22.
And this is 2005, 6?
This is 2010, right? So I spent a total of 5 years with Third ID.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to go back overseas. Like, I want to be in the States. Like, I've spent half my Army career in Iraq. And she's like, okay. So next thing you know, a week later, my orders get changed and I'm headed to 4th ID. And I'm like, okay, like, again, still ignorant to everything. I'm at E5 I'm at E5 promotable at this time. I'm like, okay, I'll just go to 4th ID, right? Not even knowing, like, their mission set. I looked at the patch chart, and I kind of knew that they were going forward, but at this point, I wasn't ready for what was about to come for future Craig. So we get there, and they're like, hey, don't pack your bags. You're going to JRTC. Or don't pack your bags. Don't unpack your bags. You're going to JRTC. So I don't unpack my bags. I head to JRTC, and I end up doing a month over in Louisiana. As you know, it's like 30-day exercise for the CTC rotations. And then we get back, and then I have 3 months to prep to go to Afghanistan. So at that time, they had cut rotations down to 9 months. So I did a 15 months, a 12-month, and then I was doing a 9-month, which at this point, I'd have 36 months of combat time before the age of 26.
Yeah.
What happened was it was a very hard deployment. I missed some certain things, very important things in my life that I should have been there for, but because I was overseas, I just couldn't be there. I couldn't attend. My son, I came back and he was 2 months old.
Yep.
So I missed his birth, and it was kind of just like, Craig, like, what are you doing? Right. So I knew if I would have stayed at 4th ID prior to us redeploying, they were already planning the next CTC rotation to go back to Afghanistan. So I would have done a 4th tour. And I was like, let me reenlist. The only way I get out of this is if I reenlist. And I reenlisted to be an instructor to go to TRADOC so that I could get a more permanent schedule for myself and my son at the time. And I went to TRADOC.
Nice. And I think it's honorable of you at least to admit, I think a lot of guys come on and tell stories. And all they want to do is keep going back. And that's not the case for everybody. Deployments are hard, not because of the combat, not because of like you're just away. And when you have a family, that is 10 times harder because all you do is worry about what's going on here and you can't affect anything. Like you can in some sense, very minute, but like that is hard as shit. And then, like you said, you get back and you realize, you know, what the hell are you doing? I have a similar experience with my daughter. My wife was pregnant and she had our kid. She had our kid halfway through it was a 12-month. Saw her for 10 days, came back, and by then my oldest was 2, my youngest was 6 months or so, 7
Mm-hmm.
months. And you're just, again, you're like, what am I doing this for? Like, what is happening?
Right.
Why am I craving these at this point? Like, that doesn't matter. This matters. So I appreciate that honesty at least. And then finally, you go to TRADOC. I've been to TRADOC as well. It's a very different environment. How did that go for you?
It was hard. So I was a staff sergeant now at the time. I was coming off of 3 rotations, and I'm going to be honest with you, no one could tell me shit. I thought my shit did not stink. I thought I get to TRADOC and, you know, I got the most combat experience out of everybody there. All the instructors, civilian, green suitor. I'm walking in like with a chip on my shoulder. I am a very young staff sergeant at this point. I made 6 and 5. And I'm like rolling. I'm like, yeah, like I own this shit, right? And because of that attitude, it was a very hard transition for me. It was a very hard job because I wanted to fight everything before trying to understand everything. And my first 2 years were probably the toughest 2 years that I had at that point in time in my Army career, as far as like, because you go there to take a knee, but anybody that's been an instructor or a drill or recruiter, it's not that. It's harder work. It's just different work.
Yes, and
It's not that it's just harder. It's just different, and you're still putting in the hours, right?
Yes.
And back then, they had taken away drills from the instructor, from TRADOC, from AIT schools, right? So now instructors were having to cover down for drill sergeant duties, and it was just a lot. It was a lot, especially on me. And it wasn't until about 2016 where I started going to mental health, and I started to try to figure out like, hey, like I don't have tools right now that I need, right? Like I fully acknowledge, like, Craig, you do not have the tools you need to like survive right now. You need to go figure it out, right? So I went to mental health, and I saw them for about a year, from 2015 to mid 2016. And once I started figuring out who I wanted to be, what type of leader I wanted to be, I think I was around 9 years, 9 or 10 years. And again, it goes back to, hey, either take a shit or get off the pot again. And I was on my way out. I was on my way out of the Army. So I started building my resume. I started trying to figure out what my next position was going to be. And I thought it was going to be easy. I was wrong. It was hard. I was trying to put my resume everywhere. No one was picking me up. And I don't know if you're aware of this, but like when you apply for a GS or a GG position within the military, it gets ran through an automated system, which is a point-based system. And pick a number. I think it's an arbitrary number. Maybe it's like 30 points, right? And you have to go in there. You have to answer truthfully. Nobody answers truthfully. However, what happens is there's a specific block that you get extra 5 points for, which is a lot of points if it's out of 30. And it says, hey, are you a veteran? And because I was still active duty, I was not a veteran. So I was always 5 points behind everyone else. So it never even got to the human eye. So I couldn't even get a job. So I had to like do what I do best, right? Like Army's there.
Sign the line.
And I stayed in, but I told myself this. I made a promise to myself. I said, hey, if you're going to stay in the Army, you cannot stay enlisted. So you need to figure out if you're going to go OCS or warrant. And that's when I put my both packets in for OCS and warrant. And obviously, spoiler alert, which one got picked up, but I became a warrant.
Yeah. Jeez, it feels like your hand kind of got forced each time though at the end. That's so stressful, especially at that point where you have a lot more responsibilities and you're going through some stuff and then you have to like decide on that route. That's got to be a lot.
Yeah, but the great thing about that though is I'm not the only one. And I knew that from going to mental health, right? Like before I even went to mental health, I had a victim mentality. Like what was me? Why do I have to go through this? Why do I have to do this, right? There was no emotional intelligence in any bone of this body. And I acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that, hey, like Craig, you have to own your own actions, right? Like again, this goes all back to me. Like I did this to myself. You know what I mean? I could have easily started looking for a job in 2015, 2016, right? But at that point in time in my life, I wasn't mentally there. So by the time I got mentally there, it was too late, which again is fine because it all goes back to me. Like that was my fault. It's no one else's fault but my own. So I made the best decision for myself and for my family. And I stayed in and I became a warrant, which has been the best decision I ever made in my entire life.
That's good. That's good. That's like the happy ending we want to hear about a little bit. I won't speak to your Wobik because everybody's Wobik is a little different. How was Walks though?
It's basic training on steroids. It's a 5-week course that makes you a SME. You tell me any 5-week course that'll make you a SME. It just doesn't.
It was only 5 weeks then?
Yeah, so Walks is the inner room course prior to going to your basic course, but it's basically basic training on steroids. And you have a bunch of warrant officers that are basically they're glorified drill sergeants, and they're managing your time every single day. And I'm talking, and when I say it's on steroids, I mean like there's an SOP that tells you exactly how to live your life in Walks. And if you do not do that, obviously, you can get in trouble. You get demerits, is what they call it. You get punished, basically. But like it goes over how you're supposed to walk, when you're supposed to run, how your silverware is supposed to be arranged on your plate. How do you sit down? What do you say when you get up? Where your napkin's supposed to be on your lap. How do you report? How do you salute? What bag do you what arm do you use to carry any bags or equipment? There's how do you march? How do who has all these additional duties? How are you supposed to address each other? I mean, anything you can think of. How when you get up and you do your static display in the morning, there is measurements to how far your drawer is supposed to be out. There are measurements to how your shoes are supposed to be arranged and your uniforms are supposed to be hanging. It's
Nitty gritty.
Attention to detail. I mean, your brain is turned on for 5 weeks, and by the end of it, it's mush, and it's not because they taught you so much. It's because you're always just trying to be situationally aware of your actions and what you're doing, and then trying to be the best teammate you can be to your peers.
Yeah. And do you think that helped you over time, like in your career, do you think that actually helps, or is it kind of just like a proving ground?
No, it doesn't help. But hear me out though. Hear me out though, right? Like I'm the type of guy that can find a silver lining in anything. Um, do I think walks made me a better leader? No. Um, but am I grateful for the people that I met? Am I grateful for the experiences that I went through? At walks? Yes, absolutely. But for me though, right, given my background, I was so hungry and all I ever thought about was becoming a warrant that I wanted it so bad. Like I was willing to spend my own money, drive to Alabama because I was stationed pretty far from Alabama at the time. I was willing to do whatever it took. No one was going to tell me no. Um, and that's kind of the approach I took when I became a warrant, and I think I've found a lot of success. So
Nice. That's good. You got to want it. You got to have the drive to, if you want stuff like that, whether it's OCS walks, like group, like whatever you want to do, you got to have that push behind you, or you're just not going to succeed in the career style.
yeah, and I think if you take that approach just with anything, right? You want Ranger School, you want Sapper School, it's one thing to want it, it's another thing to show, right? Like you can say, "Hey, I want it," but like, are your actions showing that you want it? Are you willing to eat and breathe this shit? And not necessarily for the 62 days that Ranger School is, or the 28 days that Saber School is, right? Or any school for that matter. But are you willing to eat and breathe and live that shit for a year straight, so that when you get there, you are just like you're on it. You know what I mean? And like a lot of soldiers are not, and that's okay too. That's okay too. But like take that approach, and I take my career very seriously. I know we talked before getting on here. My career is my whole life and it's everything to me, and it should be. I've been in since I was 18. I'm about to be 38. So
Yeah, I mean, you have those priorities in life. Everybody has them, and you pick what's important to you. And if that's what's important to you, that doesn't make you a bad person. Like people get mad about, oh, they make the Army their career. Well, in some aspects that works. Like
yeah,
you have to pick, that's all I'm going after. You have to pick what's important.
yeah, and I don't want to sound like I'm this like super serious guy, because obviously I'm not. You guys have seen, or some maybe you haven't, but like my whole channel was built off satire, and the way the way that I've gotten through life is just making jokes out of everything. I'll tell you a story about walks, right? So it's day 0, it's drag bag day. And you're carrying all your shit in your left hand, because the tacks, that's what they call them, the tacks are just standing around every which way to see how you react, and you have to salute, and you're playing the game, right? But at one point we find ourselves in this hallway, which is our barracks, and we're kind of like, we're really close to one another, like to the point where I can smell the next person like in front of me, and I lean in front of this guy, and I did this because obviously I was super nervous, and I was like just trying to find a friend there, and I lean in front of this guy, and it's before dinner chow, and I lean in and I go, "Hey, I heard Chili's is catering for dinner. Did you hear that?" And like the whole hallway is silent, and like they hear me, and the guy turns around, he's like, "Shut the fuck up." And I'm like, whoa, okay, like I didn't think we were that serious, but all right, brother, all right. Hey, I was like, it was good to meet you too, man. And he's like, now it's not the fucking time, because we're like we're drawing our rifles for the next day, which is called D-Day, for walks, and it's you run 4 miles with a rifle, and it's circuit training basically for 4 miles, and like you're cooked afterwards, like. But like everybody that gets, we're so intense, and I'm like, I'm just, I don't know, I make jokes out of everything. Like, yes, I do take my career very seriously, but like I'm just like a jokester all the time. Like no one knows, and based off the inflection of my tone or voice, if I'm ever serious at work too. So like, it is what it is.
That's the good part in the military, though. You can get that down pretty good, like the dry humor, where you start saying stuff that like people really don't know if you're joking or not. And you're
Yeah.
just like, that's my favorite though. When you hit somebody and they go, "What?" They're like,
Yeah.
"I'm just fucking with you." Like,
They're like, I'm like, just kidding.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to run my Jeep into a tree after work. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Or, nah, I'm just
you so that was 10 years ago basically. You go into walks, you get out, you go to your stuff. How has that part of your career been for you? Like getting through all that?
It's been good. Sorry. I'm trying to turn off this sound on my it keeps going off. I'm sorry. Okay, but so yeah, so let me preface it with this. I got in a lot of trouble when I was a staff sergeant prior to going warrant. And why that's important to the story is when people heard I got selected for warrant, uh, there's a lot of people that were skeptical of what I'd bring into the cohort. And I knew that. Anytime somebody brought my name up, there was trouble surrounded by my name, right? Especially with the senior leaders of where I was coming from in TRADOC. Because if I'm working in TRADOC for my specific branch, I'm going back there to do WOBIC, right?
Yeah.
And so I started hearing the rumor mill, right? This time it was different, right? Going to be an instructor as a staff sergeant, I had a chip on my shoulder because I thought I knew everything, right? This time I had a chip on my shoulder because I was a warrant officer, but I didn't know everything. And that was the difference is I came in and I was very open about, hey, I know I don't know everything, but I'm willing to be coachable and I'm willing to learn. Right. And I think that was the most important thing I could have brought to the table for myself as a brand new W01 was allowing these senior leaders that even if they did talk shit about me or they felt some type of way about me, and I know who it was. And I went specifically to them when I became a W01 and I would say, hey, I'd like a mentor session from you. Right. So instead of saying, I knew you did this, that, and third, right? Okay. If you think I'm this guy and you don't think that I'm gonna last in the cohort or I'm gonna be successful in the cohort, I'm gonna come to you and I'm gonna pick your brain and I'm gonna see what you know, right? And it ended up working very well because they did know a lot and they were way smarter than me. But that's a good thing, right? Like, you take the good and the bad from like different mentorship sessions or leadership sessions or LPDs that you've been a part of, right? And I went to WOBIC and I got Commandant's list.
Nice.
And the guy that I went to go get a mentorship session from, he approached me and said, "Hey, Craig." Basically, he's like, "I was unfamiliar with your game. Appreciate you. You're outstanding intelligence professional. Can't wait to see what you do. Going out." And I said, "Okay, appreciate it." And then I got orders to 25th ID as a brand new W01.
And that's at least it all worked out. Like a lot of times you'll hear guys they almost come into it you had that perfect balance of maybe like that confidence of your career behind you, but the humbleness to say I don't know everything, which is I think that's something a lot of people now, especially with where I'm at, a lot of people struggle with going, I don't know everything. And that is like okay to say, but for some reason people get this ego where they think they do. And and that's the beauty of the Army. It's a never ending process of getting to that level. And that you going to that dude that said shit and then you go, I would like a mentorship session, that shows your humbleness, I guess, an ability to like take it on the chin and go, okay, fine. Like if I don't, I'll learn from that. Cause you and I both know probably a lot of people do not do that.
Yeah, I it's taken me a lot of years to get here though. It didn't happen overnight. It took me 11 years. At that point in my time in my career, it had been 11 years, right? And man, I've worked with as a warrant so many outstanding NCOs and soldiers that are way ahead of their time. Like they acknowledge it at year 4 or year 5 and it took me 11 years and I look at those guys and I kind of invest into those guys and gals. to kind of just help develop them and try to coach and mentor them, because, you know, where I was at year 11, and I look back on it, and, you know, everybody has their own journey. Everybody has their own time, right? But, you know, again, it took me to year 11 to figure that out, right? So,
Yeah. What you got 25th ID. Did you go to Hawaii or did you go to Alaska?
I went to Hawaii. I went to 2nd Brigade.
And
So
how'd that go for you as a brand new warrant?
So, you know, I took on a whole new approach, and that's because I could, because I was a warrant officer, right? I was no longer an NCO. The difference between a warrant officer and an NCO is NCOs have to earn the respect. Warrant officers are given it, which I hate because I'm like, bro, I'm super dumb. Don't give me any credit. Like, you're way smarter than me. You've probably been working this problem set for a year, 2 years longer than me. Like, I'm going to lean on you. Like, you know what I mean? So that's one. And then two is, you know, I got there, and I introduced myself to the company commander, and the first thing he says is like, hey, you got SI inventory this month. And he's talking, and I remember this, it's a core memory. He's talking to the supply sergeant. He goes, hey, teach Mr. Obeso how to do the SI, because, you know, basically he's like a lieutenant at this point, so he doesn't know much. And I look at him and I'm like, yeah, you're right. I said, yeah, you're right. Let me go lean on this supply clerk real quick to learn this stuff, you know? And he ended up being a great company commander.
Hey guys, quick break for the show. Let's talk about emergencies. You never know when life's going to throw you a curveball, and then that's where this new brand called Jump Medic comes in. Whether you're hiking on the ground, riding around a Humvee, first aid kits they're selling are like a tank in a bag. They're rugged, organized, ready when you need them. I've got one myself, and let me tell you, the peace of mind fits perfectly in the trunk of your car. Head on over to jumpmedic.com. A discount code will be coming out soon. Stay safe out there. Let's get back to it.
And, you know, he ended up changing out pretty quickly. And I got this other guy, his name's Dave Beaumont. And amazing officer, great friend. And when he changed in, so what was so great is my timing in 25th. So got there, Dave Beaumont gets there. And then we get a new battalion commander. His name was James Kruger. He was a engineer commander, and he ended up being my very first mentor ever as a warrant officer. And he goes, hey, we're going to do a spur ride, basically, right? It's an equivalent of a spur ride, but for the engineers, right? So I have this brilliant idea, right? They of course it's brilliant because it came from me. So they break us down into squads, right, for this spur ride equivalent. And I have this idea because at this time, I've been dabbling with photography with my camera. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to make a calendar for us, because at the end of the spur ride, it's a 24-hour event. At the end, we have to go in front of a board, and we have to like do board questions or whatever. And I was like, I'm going to present this to the president of the board, which was James Kruger. He's now a full bird colonel over at USERPAC, but I was like, I'm going to present it to James Kruger, and hopefully like that kind of just like lets our squad go through, because if you fail, you got to go back out. You got to come back a bit into the board, and remind you, this board is happening at 4 a.m. the next day after you've gone through all your shitty events. So like, anyway, so I create this thing. We go do everything. We do the air assault course. We do the jungle course. I end up fucking up because I didn't wet weather all my gear when we did the river crossing. So I did the river crossing, and then now my ruck weighs 90 pounds instead of 35 pounds because everything got soaking wet. So I'm drenched. I'm freezing, waiting to go into this board. Go into the board, present him the calendar. He goes, oh, this is great. And I remember, and I'll have to send you the picture, and you can put it into the podcast or whatever. But my picture was, I was holding a dandelion and my feet were kicked up, and I was going like this and he goes, he goes, hey Kobe, because that's what they gave me that nickname because I played a lot of basketball. So he goes, hey Kobe, in front of the entire board and all the audience, right? And he goes, can you can you show me month August, which I knew that was my month. He goes, can you recreate that? And I'm like, yes sir, permission to whatever. And he goes, okay. So I get into my position in front of the entire battalion at this point, like 100 plus officers just going through the spur ride, and everybody starts laughing. He's like, awesome, Kobe, you passed or whatever. And then I take a drink from the canteen cup of whatever they make to be part of the honor of the engineers. And but that was in month 4. So when I say timing is everything, that was in month 4 of just being a W01. And when I showed my level of like determination and grit just for that 24-hour event and my creativeness to present that to James Kruger, that's the moment he became my mentor. And that's the moment where he didn't even call me Obeso or Craig. He was just like, Kobe. Everything was Kobe. And the entire time I worked in his battalion, hey Kobe, what you got going on? How's the family? Kobe, I've been thinking about you. Your promotion's coming up. So like having that relationship with him was just very priceless. And then having Dave Beaumont, who was my company commander, in the same squad when we did that, just what do they call it? It's like suffering together. The best thing in the military is when you go through an event and you suffer together.
Mutual suffering.
Yeah. So, going back to that timing is everything is because I did that event, because everything they leaned on me a lot, and I was able to have a lot of success in Hawaii as a W01. So
That's awesome. I love those little moments, like you said, core memories, where you have like these happenings that turn into suck really quick, but you can't help but laugh in them. And it turns into like something beautiful, and you always remember that. Everybody that's been in the Army, I don't really care whether you're a supply clerk or Seaburn or infantry or whatever, like you have those little moments where you cannot help but laugh because it is so terrible, but it's so fun.
That's one of the best memories I have as an officer. Well, just not even as an officer in my military career, was going through that spur ride. We called our squad the Dirty 30 because we were all over the age of 30 as officers. And I just remember like the first day we had our event, and one of my squad mates was late. His name was Skipper, which he ended up becoming one of my great friends. Love that guy. He was late, so our squad got punished during the 4-mile run, and we had to carry these water jugs, right? And for the entire 4-mile run, and we ended up coming in like second or third. We didn't come in last, but like just suffering. Like, I look at Skip, and that was the first time I met him, and I was like, I could have easily went. He was a brand new lieutenant, second lieutenant. I could have easily just been like, dude, like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? But I was like, hey, give me one of those water cans, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Give it to me. I'll carry it for a quarter mile, half a mile. One of the other teammates will get it. And you know what Skip did? He goes, nah, fuck that. He carried it for 4 miles.
Damn.
He was like, nah, this is on me. He carried it for 4 miles. I was like, Jesus Christ.
That shows the grit in him, though, because like I don't care whether you're swole as shit or a skinny little string bean that can run. Like 4 miles with a water can on you, whether it's on your back or your hand, that is nuts.
I was like, and when I saw that, I was like, okay, Skip. Okay, dude. Like, you're fucking rolling. Like,
yeah. Dang. That's great. And that's great that was your first experience as a warrant too. That's awesome. Where'd you go to after all this? Because obviously that was like your great experience. Like,
yeah, so I did company time for about a year and a half, and then I got promoted, and I went to the brigade, which was my next stop. And so I'd be remiss to say, like, so Dave Beaumont, one of the best. I've had a lot of great leadership. So let me preface it with that, right? Like, Dave Beaumont. Then I had another company commander. She came in. Her name was Amanda Monahan. Amazing officer. And then she let me go. Well, she didn't really let me go, but my time up at brigade was coming because I got promoted. But the reason, one of the reasons why I got that position, which is an interesting story, is I'm a firm believer that one of the only reasons I got that position, because there were a couple MI warrant officers that we compete against each other for those positions. So I had a soldier come in. Her name was Sarah Clark. I think she's still in. I think she's a staff sergeant now. So Sarah comes in and she goes, she's just pouty, and I'm like, why are you so grumpy? And she goes, they're making me put in my packet for the best warrior competition. And I go, okay, like, great. Like, that gives you an opportunity to go out there and compete, right? And she goes, well, I don't want to do it. And I said, she's an E4 at this time. And I said, do you want to be E5? And she goes, yeah. And I go, okay, so you want to be E5, but you don't want to do the extra shit to become an E5, right? And she looks at me, she's like, okay. And I was like, you know what? I'll make you a deal, Sarah. She goes, what's up, Chief? I go, I'll put my packet in. She go, well, I didn't say I'll put my packet in. She guilts me and she goes, there's warrant officer slots, right? And I go, okay, so what are you saying? She goes, well, if it gets your name out there and it's such a good look, maybe you should put a packet in. And I go, you know what? I'm gonna do it, right? And I was thinking, like, I'll put my packet in. They probably won't select me because there'll be other warrants that volunteer. I was wrong. Out of 52 warrants in the entire brigade, only one submitted.
Oh,
that was me. Gosh. And what's ironic about that story is Sarah Clark submits her packet. She doesn't get selected. So not only does she not compete in the best warrior competition,
you have to do it by yourself.
But I have to do it by myself. So my packet goes up and I get selected as the best warrant officer in 2nd Brigade of the year, right? By default, right? Half the battle showing up. And that's what I did, right? So I remember I showed up. It was on Mother's Day, which is not a good look. So I show up. It's Mother's Day. So I show up on Sunday, and we're doing our layout or whatever. And it's a week long. And I'm just hoping, right, on the first day, I'm like, okay, I don't see any warrants out here. I'm like, okay, great. I just have to compete, and I'll win it by default. And this warrant shows up from 3rd Brigade. And I'm like, sizing him up. I'm like, okay, maybe, I'm a littler guy. Like, I'm like, well, I can hold my own weight. Like, I was pretty in shape back then. And I was like, you know what? I'll be fine. And he comes in. I think his first name was Eric. Eric comes in and I'm like, hey, what's your branch? And he's like, oh, I'm an engineer. And I'm like, oh, I'm fucked. I'm like, I'm fucked. Right? Like, great. Like, great. And so me and Eric end up becoming really good friends during this whole suck fest of a week for the best warrior competition. He ends up winning it, which he deserved it. He did amazing. He crushed it. And I did my best that I could do, but he ended up winning it and going to compete at JBLM. But because, going back to the reason why I got my position at the brigade, because I competed, I was looked at by the division commander and the division sergeant major, acknowledged. And, because I competed and I showed up, the brigade commander and the brigade sergeant major just loved me. And they loved the fact that I was just willing to go do that. And my time up at the brigade was very easy because they loved me so much. And yes, I did put in the work and the time and the effort it takes to into that position. But when you have a good relationship with people like that in those positions, you're given a little more grace.
Oh, yeah. But battalion and higher jobs it's half doing the work, but half keeping relationships and like that networking of like, and that took me a long time in my career to realize. But if you can make it like get along with people and make everything fun and stuff, like people are off your back, whether it's your battalion sergeant major or the brigade commander, like they will not like fuck with you as much.
Yeah, no, 100%. And going back to that is like, really whatever echelon you're at, like relationships matter. And I don't care if you're an E1 or a general. you should be treating people the same way,
Yes.
right? Obviously hold them accountable, but like, again, like, relationships matter so much because the military is personality driven. And that's just the way it is. And it's on you to create those relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a whole LPD right there. You go up to brigade, and then this is like 2017, 2018 or so.
No, so I commissioned in 2017, and then I PCS January 2018, and then so I'm at brigade by mid 2019.
Okay. During that time, were you getting into social media yet, or was it still
No,
kind of like, yeah? So you're just
no, that wasn't even on my mind. So the social media, as far as like military content creation, no. However, I was into social media, but it was all photography.
yeah, you
And
said you were into that, right? You just took a lot of pictures and stuff.
so I started off as a photographer. And I was a sneakerhead. So I started off as a sneakerhead, doing photography for shoes. And that's when I really got into it. That's where Mandart came from, was the sneaker culture and the sneaker community. And that's how that channel was created. And I was deep into the sneaker community, like going to events, taking pictures. Every day I'm posting pictures of what kind of sneakers I'm wearing, going to events and shooting content, which was just pictures at the time because Instagram wasn't really heavy into reels at that time yet, in 2018. So I'm still much a sneakerhead at this point prior to PCSing to the SFAB over at Fort Benning, Georgia.
Nice. Oh, that's where you went next.
Yeah, that's where I went next.
How was that experience? I've heard a lot of mixed reviews on them.
Amazing. I mean, but here's the thing, man. Like, I'm the wrong person to ask about any assignment,
Yeah,
because because I have, and that's because I made it into that. Like, I can find the goodness anywhere. So like, yeah, I'm the wrong person to ask. Like, you could ask the same people from the same first SFAB and they'd be like, I hate it. But like, I loved it. But like, that's because of what I made it. I, again, very fortunate to have a lot of great leaders around me. I forgot to mention my very first boss at Brigade and 25th ID, David Granzow. He was my very first ever mentor in my MOS, which outstanding individual. Now he's Colonel Granzow, over at 82nd. But like, going into back to first SFAB is like, I got there, and the reason why I went to first SFAB was 25th ID was coming up on another JRTC rotation. I didn't want any part of that. I'm going to be real with you. So at the time, General Milley was like, hey, I've created these organizations called Security Force Assistant Brigades, and I think they're the future. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's kind of like I've always wanted to support special operations. So they're like kind of a mini SOF, but they're like, and I don't mean any disrespect on SFAB people, but they're like the Timu of SOF. They're like, and I think I can say that, right? I feel like I could say that because I did 3 years there. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, no,
they're like
explanation of it.
They're like the Coke Zero of SOF.
No, Coke Zero is better. Coke Zero is superior drink. That's besides the point.
That is, Coke Zero is really good.
It's Coke really good. But the Timu thing is pretty, or Wish, it's very.
Yeah. They're like the Wish version of SOF.
If you look at getting inside baseball here, the mission of group, the special forces, right? That part of their mission is like supporting whatever local
foreign partners.
Foreign partners, right?
Yep.
That's in their mission set. So SFAB kind of went off of that and just said, no, we do this too now. And they're like, okay, let's do it. And a lot of people have a different, I don't really care. Like, I've had people work there. They said it's wonderful and they've done a lot of good missions. I've just heard it can be up or down,
So given my position, and I fully acknowledge my rank and my grade.
You're a W-2 going into there, right?
Yeah, so I'm a W2 now. I interview in February of 2022. No, that's a lie. 2020. I interview in 2020. Yeah, so I interview in 2020 of February. They go, Craig, you're the guy. Probably because I was the only guy. But they're like, you're the guy. Can you get here next week? And I'm like, whoa, like I still have things that I need to close out with 25th ID in my brigade. Like I'm not leaving them hanging. Right. So I immediately went to my boss and I went to my senior raider, who was the brigade XO. His name is Pat Yoon, another phenomenal leader, like outstanding, another mentor of mine. He and I was like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. What does your timeline look like for me? I'm here to support you. Whatever you tell me, I'll do. Right. And he's like, how about this summer? Because he was very family oriented. He's like, how about this summer you can PCS so you can get on the summer cycle? Because I was on the winter cycle movement. And he goes, go this summer so that your kids can start the school year fresh. And I go, okay, sir, like, got it. I'll go this summer, right? So that gave me about a 4 or 5 month buffer to close things down with 25th ID of whatever, things I was doing. So then, huh?
In 2020, I'm thinking of the timeline, February 2020, and then next month.
COVID. Yeah, so February 2020, and then I PCS to SFAB July of 2020.
Oh, okay.
So while I'm there, they're like, hey, and the reason why I went there too, full disclosure, is I needed to deploy. Right? So at that time, I think I had over like 96 months of dwell time. So mind you, the last deployment I had was 2012 from Afghanistan. I knew if I wanted to be competitive, I needed to go deploy or reset that dwell time. And I knew SFAB, as everything was closing down, Iraq, all that stuff, I was like, they're still going to Afghanistan. I'm gonna go over there, right? Like, I think it's time. I've been on the bench far too long. I need to go out there, right? So, and that's the reason why I went to SFAB. So anyway, so as I'm getting ready to go there, in the middle of my PCS, I'm on leave. They call me and they're like, hey, problem set has changed. We're not doing Afghanistan anymore. They pulled us out. And this was before the crazy pullout, right? The atrocious plan.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, we pulled out of Afghanistan. Now we're aligned to different COCOMs. And I'm like, okay, what does that mean? They're like, we got Africa. I'm like, okay. I'm like, whatever. Like, whatever you tell me to do, I'll do. Right. Then I get there and I'm in processing and they're like, they give me a call and they're like, hey, our COCOM changed. And I'm like, Jesus Christ. What? Like, I'm like, what? And they're like, it's South America. And I'm like, dang it. I'm like, oh man. I guess I'll suck it up and do it for the team. And they're like, okay, Craig, you're out the door in 45 days as one of our team leaders. And I'm like,
yeah, that's all I'm thinking about is like they're doing all this while that whole mess. That's peak COVID too. Like,
yeah,
geez.
Yeah. So this is middle of COVID. So I get there, I do a validation for me and my team. And then we're forward in September in Colombia over in Bogota. And I did 6 months there as a team leader. Loved it. Went very well. So much that I got kicked out of country. And then it's a long story, but what I will say is, me and my assistant team leader went under investigation for some nonsense that another soldier tried to do. Investigation came back unfounded. And ironically, after my name got dragged in the mud for 4 or 5 months after being under investigation in first SFAB, they came to me and they go, Craig, do you want to be the company commander? And I'm like,
hell yeah. Dang, that's crazy. That it happens a lot like that though, where people get dragged in the mud and then they're like, oh no, it's all good. And then it's immediate switchback of, no, we've always liked you. You're good. But if that would have went the other way, it just would have turned such a, it's such a weird it's a military thing for sure. It's just like it can either the second you screw up, it swings down, and the second they find out it wasn't your fault, it swings up, and it's an odd thing. Yes, nah, dog. You could be like the most squared away NCO ever, and there's still shit that just happens. It just happens, and you it's terrible, but you have to deal with it professionally because you acting out doesn't fix any of it at all. At the end of the day, if you can look yourself in the eye and say, I tried my best today. I'm doing what I can. And then you tell yourself, yeah, that's what I did today. If you can tell yourself that every day, you're going to succeed. You're going to have a better time. That's all you can do. So, Craig, give me 1 second. Take a 2-second break, and then we'll get right back into it. Okay. Oh, right back in. All right, guys, we come back from the break. Craig was just telling us about, had a little minor mishap in Colombia, and then he took over for his company command right after. How was it being a company commander? I hear good things about it. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's our whole thing is like that. That's who's driving the mission. Like that's the whole. Wow. Yeah. The whole point of or what every I have a theory. It's a very powerful theory which I've copyrighted. It's every man in this world usually likes purpose. And it's like you got to find it in different ways because sometimes you have a job that may not necessarily like show intentional purpose, but it's there. But with a company commander slot, that is purpose. Like you have people that literally report to you and you can influence them whichever way you want, good or bad. And obviously it shows the way you talked about it, where you had these succession of people that eventually went warrant. Well, they got their feel of being a warrant officer from you directly. You had other people like you talked about, the staff sergeant that went to sergeant first class, the W3 and stuff. They obviously progressed in their careers in a degree because of you. So that is awesome that you got to experience that though with that group of people. Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's a wholehearted story of like a great unit that you got to be like influential in. Fuck yeah. What you were there for what, 3 years, 4 years? Yeah. Where'd you go from after there? Yes, let's dive down that a little bit. So where tell the people about it, and where'd you get the idea from? Oh my gosh. No. No. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Dang. Because you have experience, right? Yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, I remember seeing your videos, and it had to be around that time because that's right when I was on the trail. So I was pretty heavy into like we would all share mill talk shit, because living there basically. And I remember seeing yours and that guy. King Picks Media is the same guy that was doing the range guy, right? He would play the crusty range dude. Yeah. You would see it and you're like, this camera quality is 10 times better than what everyone else. It's like a phone, but you guys were putting it out and you're like, this looks badass. Like, how did that feel? You know, you obviously have your accolades and I don't, you're obviously, like we've talked about, a humble guy, but you have stuff to stand on in your own life, which is your military and your family and everything. But then you get this thing out of the blue that I imagine you weren't necessarily expecting in your life, of this pseudo fame, right? Across social media. How does that hit you, knowing that you're this many people are watching your content, waiting for it? Yes, sure. I mean that's a big thing. I've had microcosms of that because I'm obviously not that big, but I've had people reach out or a soldier in my formation who I owe nothing to. I never see him. He works in a different department. And I see him and he goes, "Hey, I watched your show." And that means more to me than anyone in my personal life could ever say. Because everyone around you, whether they say you're making good stuff or not, is great. But when you get validation from outside of your normal space, there's something wonderful about that you can't recreate. It's so much time. It's so much time. It's so much time. Well, yeah, I guess I'd say thank you. It's a lot of work. I wanted to ask that because in my mind, because I'm still in the early stages of growing, in my mind, why I make stuff is because number one, it's history, whether it's like you or I had an episode with my dad, and then I've had episodes with Green Berets, freaking museums, like I've done a lot of different stuff. And in my mind, I go, those are recorded moments not only of me talking, but it's history. Those are people's lives being recorded that they get to hear. What drove you to keep creating besides the numbers? Yes. People think you make a lot. People think you make a lot off it. I still don't make money. Like and podcasting is the one you kind of can make money in. Content creation, you really like you can in a sense over longevity, but like you're doing it mostly out of the fun of, like you said, to make people laugh. Yes, yes. How do you feel about, obviously a lot has happened in social media realm between basically 21, like kind of COVID era. That's where like the boom was in general. And then now we're here where I just talked to Fratty Guard about it. I don't know if you know him, but it seems to get a little oversaturated, or like, I don't know. Now I look back at that and I go, I don't know if it's oversaturated technically, but some people, especially the military era, right? Like you had satire, which is great. And then there's storytelling, which is also great. But then there's like these cringy doing it to get looked at, like thirst traps type shit going on. How do you feel about that? Well, that's a good point, but that dives into self-awareness, which I think personally is it's not a common thing necessarily. To a point, everybody has some. I don't think self-awareness is as common as people think it is. So people post stuff that they think it's normal, or they think it's attractive or whatever, and then they get like you're talking about comments, whether it's like cringe stuff, and then people are like, you look like an asshole, and they go, why? And you're like, well, it's a whole dynamic. But then that's, now we're in a metaverse where that's what people want because it feeds the algorithm to grow them bigger. So now I don't really know what's real anymore with all of it. You know? Yes. 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 Yeah. I'm glad you had like the fresh perspective. Like that helped me a lot. So thank you for that. Let's finish out your career real quick. We'll finish that out. Or not finish it out because you ain't done. You ain't done yet. But no, you ain't done yet. That's right. What you get done with your time at SFAB? Where do you go from there? Interesting. What unit? Or we'll talk about. Yeah. Okay. What unit was it? I was in that unit. I was in 25th Signal Battalion. Yep. Whole time was in Afghanistan, but we were based out of Qatar. Yes, it's beautiful if you ever been there. A lot of third world slavery. Beautiful area though. Okay. Yeah, this is later, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Right. But this was the whole thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So then you're out at sea with nothing. Ooh. And that is it's such I'd say an interesting unit. If I won't go into details of it and everything, but that is a very interesting unit, has a very different mission set from what people are used to, and it's in CENTCOM, so it's or arson or whatever the hell they go by now. Yeah, it's very interesting. And you are a staff primary for the brigade, right? That are all signal. Yeah. Yes. 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 The number one, whenever you say like, "Oh, you're bullshitting about the people," like now, every unit I've been to, I've had 2 to 4 people where you go, they were stellar, they're phenomenal. I look to embody them. Number two, though, like you said, support, right? I think that's one of the good things about my job is, or it's the interesting part where you go to a unit and it may not be a chem unit. It usually isn't. And you got to figure out either you're going to be a liability or an asset, and you got to figure out what that is, because there is no playbook for how to do that, and you kind of just figure it out sometimes for good or bad. But that's kind of the fun part of it. Oh yeah, the stuff they're talking about, you're like, I don't know what you're even discussing, right? Hell yeah. That and quick side note, was that hard on you though? going over there like that. It's not a deployment. You're in a different mindset. You got to be away for a year. Is that hard? Yes. Oh wow, that's good at least. Yeah, that's good though. That again, keep having this, and it's a trend with you. You're having this trend of good units, and that obviously has to say something about you. Where you talked about, I just want to be a good teammate. Well, iron sharpens iron. Everyone around you is having a good time, so that's good. What you get done with your time over in AJ? Where do you go from there? Yes. Yeah. Being punked, like what? Yeah. Yeah. Jeez. Are you? Yeah. Okay. Dang. So you show up. It's awkward as hell. How are you received at that point? You, yes, yes. To them, it's another day in the park. Yes, yeah. So that's number one. It's awesome because that speaks to your work ethic and stuff, and you've built that reputation across the army at this point, you know. But number two, you got seventh group. You're down in Destin, Florida. Hell yeah, yeah, yeah. The so you've been there this whole time, and then let's hop back a little bit. You know, I've watched, like I told you, I watched your content for a while. You did King Picks Media, by the way. I'll get into that later. Him, you did a couple other big collabs and stuff, you know, and you're doing all that. And what's the trajectory of that, and where is that taken to you now? Yeah. Yeah, I just saw that one. Yeah. Get right or get left. Yeah. 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 Discussion. Yeah. I, nobody, while however unjustified or justified it is, nobody should ever put their social media above their true calling in a career. Because it's like you said, it's something you work towards, it's something you really wanted in your life. This thing is a side project at the end of the day. This is not who I am. Like, I am not going to let this lead my life. So I fully respect that. No diss to you. And like they said, you don't have to stop making stuff or anything. It's just, hey, maybe chill it on the uniform stuff, which is like it's hard. It's hard because you're a military influencer at the end of the day, which nobody likes to be called an influencer, I feel like. But you are. And it's hard to not do that to an aspect. I would imagine. Yes. 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 Yeah. 5,000. Yeah. That's a division. Close, close to division. Yeah. That's how I think of. Holy shit. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my lord. Yes, yeah. Yeah. These accounts evolve though too. Nobody is staying the same. It's all dynamic, and that's okay. Like it's fine. As long as you're grounded in your truths, which sounds so egotistical because we're talking about social media. But as long as you're trying to make stuff that you still like to do, that you still like, that's what you wanted from the get-go, it just maybe gets altered a little bit. Who cares? Who gives a damn? No, most people aren't going to look into it this deep either. I think we all get in our heads of people aren't going to respect me as much. People aren't going to care. You know, I think we get too in our heads. Oh, we're the Millers. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's a whole nother side deal you go over of merch and how much it costs and how much people think you're. Oh, he sells shirts. He must make a fortune. No, shirts are the worst. Like it's terrible. You could go down a whole avenue of that stuff. It costs 50. Yeah, I love those. Is it a whoopee jacket? Is it a yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's warm as hell. Um yeah, yeah. Um damn. Craig, you explained it all. You talked about your whole career. You talked about your, social media and where it's been and where it's going. And like being a fanboy, like I talked about, I loved hearing all the lore, right? From where you came to where you are now. Because at the end of the day, you're a 20-year military, like army guy. That's a warrant that speaks for itself where you're at now with like supporting group and your account. While you may not think it's amazing, like in perspective, right? Me, I think I'm at almost 400, right? And I'm proud to hit 400. Like, to hear you 24, well, 24 is 24. Like, that's still amazing. So please be proud of yourself at the end of the day for what you've accomplished in these last 20 years, because it's a lot and it's awesome. And I thank you for coming on. Awesome. Guys, make sure to check them out at I'll have the link in the bottom. It's Mandark, but it's spelled different. Craig, do you want to push anything else out to where they can find your stuff? Awesome. Humble as always. Thank you, Craig. Thank you all for listening. Have a good night.